Good to be with you. I'm Tony DeCopel. The breaking news right now. What could be the biggest snowstorm in years? The states of emergency tonight from Texas to Virginia. Schools closing, shelves empty. Officials urging people to make their preparations now. Also developing tonight, anti-ice activists arrested. The Attorney General sending a strong message today saying, listen loud and clear what she said next. The other breaking story today, that fiery hearing on Capitol Hill. Former special counsel Jack Smith, who led 2 criminal investigations into President Trump, grilled by lawmakers. Smith not backing down. What the president called him late today. And police on Long Island respond to a bank break-in, but release the only suspect. We'll explain.
It's Punxsutawney Phil!
And the latest political issue of 2026. Here comes Groundhog Day.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel.
It's great to be with you on a busy Thursday night. We have major political news to get to out of Washington and late developments tonight on efforts to end the war in Ukraine. But we have to begin with the extreme weather. Take a look at this map here from New Mexico all the way to New England. A massive winter storm is threatening 35 states and more than 200 million people. Heavy snow and ice could snap trees and power lines, and it will be bitterly cold. There are states of emergency tonight in many areas as airlines brace for cancellations, and officials warn people to stay off the roads. We have correspondents across the storm zone tonight, and Lonnie Quinn standing by with a forecast. But we begin with Jason Allen leading our efforts off in Fort Worth. Jason, good evening.
Tony, good evening. Road crews have spent days drenching these highway lanes in brine. That's the white lines that you see down there on the lanes, all to prevent ice from accumulating. Fort Worth and Dallas were hit hard by that power failure here 5 years ago. Now they're looking at up to 36 hours of freezing precipitation, sleet, up to a ½ inch of ice, and 1 to 3 inches of snow on top of that.
The relentless snow and wind that's been battering much of the country this week has set its sights on the south. In Texas, heavy ice could weigh down power lines and trigger widespread outages.
The ERCOT grid has never been stronger, never been more prepared, and is fully capable of handling this winter storm.
State transportation agencies are also working overtime to prepare. Officials are hoping to avoid a repeat of the widespread outages after a paralyzing ice storm in 2021 led to the deaths of more than 200 people. Stores throughout the South are packed with people loading up on supplies like generators, flashlights, and batteries.
It sounds like you're taking this really seriously.
Very seriously, because it's supposed to be ice and snow coming.
Here in the Fort Worth area, some essential supplies are in short supply.
Is this the first place you stopped?
No, this is second Harbor Frights. Maybe you stopped at Tulo's, Home Depot, stopped at Bass Pro, nothing.
No generators at any of them. The highways are obviously one major concern, but this storm is going to impact major airports across the country. Chris Van Cleve is just 30 miles to my east in Dallas.
This is Southwest Airlines' brand new network operations center in Dallas. It's the nerve center of the airline, and right now the focus is on tracking this massive winter storm. It's going to impact a number of airports where Southwest operates. The weather team poring over the forecast to figure out what changes the airline is going to have to make. The Charlotte airport posted video of its snow removal equipment getting ready. Delta is bringing in teams from its cold weather hubs to Atlanta as the world's busiest airport braces for a rare winter storm.
These are all things that we've been training for all year round. So preparing for winter storms is something that we begin over the summertime. And so really now it's when we start putting things into action.
How disruptive is this storm looking?
So for us, Southwest, it is hugely impactful.
And when the storm moves out, it's going to leave bitter cold temperatures that could also create travel disruptions. Usher Qureshi is tracking that.
Tonight in Chicago and throughout the Midwest, tens of millions are bracing for one of the deepest freezes in years.
Layers, layers, and more layers. Only thing would be out would be my eyeballs.
The storm is bringing dangerous, life-threatening cold, with wind chills expected to plunge as low as minus 40 degrees in some areas. Staffers at Rush University Medical Center are preparing for a surge in cold-related trauma. At these temperatures, these wind chills, how long does it take?
It can literally be minutes. I mean, it's going to be really cold out there.
Emergency room physicians are on standby.
We'll see a lot of patients for exposure, frost nip, frostbite, maybe some hypothermia, And we see our vulnerable populations, those that are housing insecure, maybe our older adults without heat.
Today, school closures were announced affecting hundreds of thousands of students in the Chicago area and other parts of Illinois and Wisconsin after extreme cold warnings were issued for the region.
Tony, doctors also told us to wear loose clothing and make sure your hands, feet, and ears, the parts farthest from your heart, are covered. Tonight's overnight temperatures are the lowest in Chicago since 2019. That's the last time I wore this hat on air, which I refer to as the Beast. Tony?
Usher, thank you very much. As promised, Lonnie Quinn has a forecast for us. He's upstairs from here on the roof of the CBS Broadcast Center here in New York. Lonnie, good evening.
All right, good evening, Tony. Let's get right to it. This is a storm that's going to be serving up snow and ice anywhere from, I'll say, New Mexico into New England. We have 175 million people that are currently under some sort of winter storm watch or warning because of this storm. The big effects will be, like I said, the snow a foot or more in some spots, three-quarters of an inch of ice in some spots as well. Let's get right to it, start talking numbers and where I see the worst of it. For the icing, you betcha it's in and around Dallas, I-20, I-40. I mean, a half an inch of ice, that makes travel so difficult. And you saw in Jason's live shot, so many of the roadways in Dallas are elevated. They freeze even quicker. Please be careful out there. Same situation from Atlanta pushing up towards Charlotte, even into Washington, D.C. Snowfall, well, anywhere around Oklahoma City pushing to the east up towards Washington, D.C., New York, into Boston. You could see a foot to even potentially a foot and a half of snow, both at play. The ice, the snow, it's the ice that is the bigger problem. The storm forms tomorrow, affects the Texas area, then starts pushing to the east all the while. This will be a major travel disruptor. And if you live in the Dallas area, tonight is your time to get out and make your preps because the storm will be arriving for you tomorrow.
All right, Lonnie, got it. Thank you very much. We're going to turn now to that historic hearing on Capitol Hill. Former special counsel Jack Smith, who pursued not one but two criminal cases against President Trump, never got to make his case before a jury. But he had plenty to say to lawmakers today about what he describes as a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election, which led to the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Here's Justice correspondent Scott McFarland.
For the first time, Jack Smith has testified publicly, defending his historic criminal case against President Trump.
Our proof showed that he caused what happened on January 6th, that it was foreseeable, and that he exploited that violence.
With 4 police officers who helped stop the attack in the front row, Smith and Democrats blasted what they call a whitewashing of history by Trump and Republicans.
Let's remember why we're here today. Donald Trump incited an insurrection in 2020 because he refused to accept that he lost that election.
Republicans accuse Smith of overreaching by seeking phone data from lawmakers who were allegedly targeted by Trump to help install fake electors.
They got my phone records for 2.5 years. Even the Democrats said this was wrong.
Smith said those records were reviewed because Trump and his allies called those lawmakers while trying to stop the election from being certified.
We followed the facts and we followed the law. Where that led us was to an indictment of an unprecedented criminal scheme to block the peaceful transfer of power.
Trump today called Smith a deranged animal and said hopefully the attorney general is looking at what he's done, a post to which Smith responded.
Do you believe that President Trump's Department of Justice will find some way to indict you?
I believe that they will do everything in their power to do that because they've been ordered to by the president.
Smith dropped his cases after the president won re-election, but in the meantime, the White House has escalated its whitewashing of January 6th, including posting a government webpage with lies about the investigations and the attacks. Tony.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Turning overseas to Switzerland today, President Trump stepped into a new role as chairman of the Board of Peace. It's a new international organization created by him and over which he alone has veto power. Ed O'Keefe is traveling with the president. He has more.
President Trump launched the Board of Peace on his final day in Davos. Its mission, the redevelopment of the Gaza Strip, where airstrikes continue and Hamas remains armed.
I'm a real estate person at heart, and it's all about location. And I said, look at this location on the sea. Look at this beautiful piece of property.
Seeking $1 billion from each member, Trump's board hopes to rebuild Rafah and turn Gaza City, mostly flattened by the conflict, into a brand new tourist mecca with sparkling skyscrapers.
You know what? Let's just plan for catastrophic success.
On stage with the president were members from 19 countries, mostly autocracies, with just 2 from Europe, Bulgaria and Hungary. France, Sweden, and Norway said they wouldn't join. The board's charter gives Trump all the power to veto, set the agenda, and designate his own successor. And its mandate isn't limited to the Middle East.
Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do.
After a conference that saw Trump criticize NATO and insult longtime allies, some viewed the Board of Peace as yet another attempt to dismantle the post-war world order.
We go through these.
We spoke with Finland's President Alexander Stubb, who urged the world to move on from this week's drama.
Be a bit more Finnish. Take a deep breath, take a sauna and a cold bath, and we'll solve it together.
Also a concern for European allies, Russia was invited to join the board. President Putin said he'd be happy to and would donate $1 billion from his assets that have been frozen by the West. That would be a no-go for most allies. Tony?
He would say that. Ed, the president also made news today suing a very well-known bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, and its very well-known CEO, that would be Jamie Dimon. What's the reasoning here?
That's right. It was a $5 billion suit in a Florida state court. The president alleging J.P. Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon closed his bank accounts after the January 6th insurrection. He says he and his company suffered financial harm and calls the bank's decision political discrimination. J.P. Morgan Chase says the accounts weren't closed because of politics and said this suit has no merit. Tony?
All right, Ed, thank you very much. There was another push to end the war in Ukraine. President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met in Davos. Then Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, had a late-night meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. That as Russia continues to turn winter itself into a weapon. Here's Imtiaz Tayeb.
In the central city of Dnipro, a Russian drone tore through this apartment block, injuring 7 as smoke poured from the building. The apartment can be rebuilt, says Olena, but people are irreplaceable. At Ukraine's power plants, a different battle. Energy workers endure freezing temperatures and frozen pipes to repair damage caused by Russian strikes. There's a lot of damage, says energy worker Vitaly. As soon as we fix it, the attacks start again. With temperatures far below freezing, warming centers have become a lifeline across Ukraine as thousands of buildings remain without power and the capital Kyiv alone. While at train stations, civilians wait out Russian strikes. Nearly 4 years into this war, Ukrainians are still living this way, not knowing when the next siren will sound. Imtiaz Tayeb, CBS News, London.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, the new deal between the U.S. and China on TikTok. What TikTok users need to know. Stay with us. Details are coming in tonight about a newly approved deal between the U.S. and China over control of TikTok, the wildly popular short video app, which Congress had effectively banned unless its Chinese owner stopped operating the platform in these United States. Kelly O'Grady is here to explain. Kelly, good evening. Walk me through all of it, please.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. So, look, this marks a major turning point when it comes to TikTok. And it's 170 million U.S. users, right? That's a really big number. So, White House official confirmed both China and the U.S. signed off on a deal to spin off TikTok's U.S. operations. And it comes just a day before the deadline that could have forced the app offline. Now, the new company would be majority owned by a group of mostly American investors. That's according to an internal memo that we reviewed back in December. Now, those investors would include private equity firm Silver Lake, MGX, that's an Abu Dhabi-based fund, and tech giant Oracle. Now, Chinese owner ByteDance would retain a 20% stake, right? That's an important number. It is within that law that we've talked about. The original push to ban the app was driven by bipartisan national security concerns, and that would be fears that the Chinese government could access American user data. And that's where the biggest question still remains. It's that algorithm, which is widely considered what makes TikTok so popular. So we do know the plan is for the U.S. entity to retrain it on U.S. user data, but no further details have been released on who will control that algorithm or how it will be governed. Now, we did reach out to the new investors and TikTok. They did not respond with a comment. But after hearing from several experts, the really big question is whether the U.S. user feed is going to be any different or when this spinoff is going to occur, Tony.
Yeah, and whether it satisfies those big security questions which led a bipartisan group of congresspeople to pass this in the first place.
That's right.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Still ahead, an alarm at a bank leads police to a buck. It's a true story. We'll explain next. Cameras captured the moments of chaos after a deer broke into a bank on New York's Long Island Sunday. Police posted this video of the buck scrambling around trying to escape. Eventually, Suffolk County's finest managed to lasso and release the animal, adding in a post online, quote, "You never know what your day is going to bring." Same say Philadelphia police, because in a suburb there, they rescued a dog that fell through the ice in a backyard pool, this also on Sunday. Once the rope was tossed out and secured, they pulled the animal to safety. In this case, it seems man was the dog's best friend. We'll be right back. Finally tonight, only in America, the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, has doubled down on a public defense of Groundhog Day.
It's Punxsutawney Phil!
Every February 2nd, if you don't know, officials in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, pull a groundhog named Phil out of his burrow, and according to tradition, Phil then predicts weather will have an early spring. It's a huge event, draws thousands of people a year, but Phil, if you look at his eyes in particular, doesn't always look thrilled about the attention, which is why for decades now, PETA has been lobbying to replace Phil with, for example, a gold coin or a vegan weather reveal cake, or even a 36-year-old woman from Oregon who said she'd live in Phil's burrow and live stream it. The new suggestion is a giant 3D hologram, which one Philadelphia Inquirer columnist described as both adorable and terrifying. But the governor of Pennsylvania is having none of it. He's posted a photo of Phil with the words, "Don't tread on me." And if you're thinking, well, he's clearly joking, people have reached out to his office, and the office said, quote, "He's indeed very serious about his defense of Phil." Like I said, only in America. And that's another day in America for all of us at CBS News. I'm Tony DeCopel in New York. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Good night for now.